and recording is running. Welcome everybody, this is SharePoint Dev Weekly. This is episode 28. It is 25th of February, Monday morning, and I'm back from a family winter break, which is awesome. Or
you actually look fresh.
Thank you. I just came from shower as well, so no, but that's fine.
I'm not judging.
Wait, what? why would you judge? Never mind. So this week,
because it involves more than looks, so it doesn't matter. Anyways, yes.
Let's concentrate on the visitor. So this week we once again have a visitor, luckily, on the call. So Martina, will you do a quick intro, who you are and what do you do for a living? And what are you planning to do this week, for example?
Yeah, so hello everybody. Thanks for the invitation. My name is Martina Grom. I'm an Office 365 MVP since quite a while now. And this week I'm heading to London today to speak at Microsoft Ignite the Tour. And I'm pretty excited to speak about Office 365 groups and Teams governance and how you can scale it and topics around that. And also tomorrow I will spend my morning at the booth and get a lot of questions from the attendees, which are from, can you configure my phone? To how can I do this and that, and are you an Azure and BizTalk expert, and I have that specific problem on my machine. So it's really funny to be there.
Yeah, you've been doing quite a few of these Ignite Tour visits, right? You were in Singapore and a few others.
Yes, I did that since the beginning, and they started with Office 365 Cloud Roadshow, developed into Cloud Roadshow, developed into Technical Summit, and now we have Ignite on Tour. And this year I was in Berlin, I was in Singapore, Milan, London, and probably in Stockholm.
Yeah. So, and it's probably, I still remember when I was in where was it? It was the previous name. And when you visited the different cities, you can clearly see how far in the cloud technologies the countries are. The differences are just phenomenal from a Mediterranean area to Netherlands. It's like, wow, this is a different world.
Yeah, exactly. I was in Dubai a couple of years ago and did the network optimization session there. And I learned a lot about how they connect to Europe to get a good network connection and so on. So it's really interesting, and also different countries. So for instance, I spoke in Milan about Yammer, and I got also a lot of feedback about should we use that or not. So it's completely different per country. Yeah.
Cool.
Why wouldn't you use Yammer? So,
where do I start? So we have an hour. No.
We have other topics. You can use Yammer everywhere. Believe me, guys.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? It's
every
another
single
tool
company,
in your toolbox.
Exactly. Every single company can define their own ways of utilizing the services with part of the Office 365. Yeah. I think that's probably the best learning. Now, Martina, just out of curiosity, you're kind of specialized on the Office 365 groups. Why is that? How did you end up doing that? Because the groups are more and more on the background, or aren't they? So it's what is your point of view on the groups, and should you be considering them as groups, or are they something which are behind of the scenes as a permission boundary, and how do they actually work?
So Office 365 Groups is a membership service, and why I like them is they help a lot to connect the services, which are loosely coupled through different things. And an Office 365 group, you can have a mailbox with that, a Yammer group, a SharePoint team site, a Microsoft team, and everything is built on top of groups. So if you don't understand that from an architectural perspective, you're probably lost, because you create a team, and then you create a team site, and then you create a distribution list, all with the same name, which you can easily do with one Office 365 group. And this is why I like that. And I also like the concept because Office 365 groups are in Azure Active Directory.
Yeah.
So you don't need specific groups within SharePoint or within Exchange and so on. So groups is definitely a good approach to have members within one group, in fact.
Yeah. comparing the old model of SharePoint groups in a SharePoint sites and then a different permission group somewhere else, and it would have been a mess to manage. So.
Exactly, and people really like the idea as soon as they understand it, because very often, and this is also something which is phenomenal. I speak about groups. I spoke about that 3 years every year at Ignite, and in the beginning, when you ask the people, "Have you turned off groups?" you have 70% of people who turned their hands up, and now we are down to 50, 30, 20%, and you see people like it and they like the concept. And Microsoft Teams helps a lot because you need groups enabled to have proper Teams experience there.
Yeah. So I wasn't even aware that you could theoretically avoid having a group in Microsoft Teams, but apparently, well, you shouldn't be doing that, right?
Exactly, and we don't want to talk about that.
Exactly. Beep, beep, beep on that section of the video. I'll just edit this away. Okay. But okay, so let's do a quick round of a discussions on Waldek. So what have we been doing on the last week? So I was on vacations. I haven't actually done that much. I was in Angry Birds Park and a spa with my kid and all of that. So
you did a lot, just not tech stuff, right?
That is true. There
you go. So. So I have a few things going on. From like we released a new version of CLI, new preview with support for listing team channels and in-place records management. And now we're working on a cool thing. So over the weekend, Hardeman had a discussion with Elio regarding how they could support deploying Teams apps from Azure DevOps to automate it. And they came to a point where, well, there's nothing really. So the only thing that you could use is Graph API, but to do that directly from pipeline, it's a kind of raw experience. So then came out the question, okay, so what if the CLI could do that? And by the end of the day, we had now three PRs or 2 PRs and third coming. Like, really? So this was like really cool from discussion to a PR within a day. Yep. That was really impressive. Yeah. So now it's on my plate to review that, to merge that, to ship that, because we have new release of CLI coming by the end of the month. So I really hope to get them included in there. And then for this week on Wednesday, there will be a Rancor webinar around security of apps and what kind of risks there are exposed, or what kind of things are included in that. So things that you have to take into account to avoid risk, basically from everything custom that you can add to SharePoint, both on premises and online. Yep. And then beginning of March and end of March, I have 2 SPFX dev trainings or SharePoint dev trainings, which I will be doing together with Irvin at customers. So there's like quite a few things that I'm doing already now, doing for preps.
Yep, makes perfect sense. Now that you said it, actually, I do have a session in the local Microsoft Finland is doing a tech days this week as well. So I need to drop by and do a latest on SharePoint Dev, but that doesn't require that much of. I think I'm covered with slides, so that's fine.
You will get a slide. How many do you have? So you want 20 slides, 40 slides? How much time do I have?
Yes. Which of the demos should I use? But I think it should be fine. Let's jump on the articles and let's have a look on things. Maybe, well, potentially just to mention, obviously for this week, we're looking into finalizing pretty soon SPFX 1.8. So that's coming out really soon. No. I can say that technically we had to delay that for slightly because we needed to align the Microsoft Teams and SharePoint release schedules on server side and cross-organizational alignments are always hard. So we needed to push the release for a few days forward, but it's coming relatively soon. And then getting the provisioning service out is definitely one of the things which are coming really soon as well, which will be beneficial for most likely anybody on the Office 365. But we've been talking about that one so many times, so it's getting boring until we actually get it out.
It's coming. It's really coming. It's coming really soon.
Yeah, and the most
this
used
week
word
is very
it's
soon.
coming. It's coming soon.
Exactly.
Like this week is more soon than the last week.
Exactly.
But it's still soon.
But it's still soon, yes.
Still soon. But soon is so relative. As a ex-consultant, you can always say, I'm an ex-consultant, so I can say that. So.
Yeah, the most used word is soon.
Yes.
Well, or it depends.
Exactly, yes.
Fair point. Good. Let's go through some articles and then let's get back on the discussion. So, a few things what we wanted to kind of pinpoint and have a discussion. First of all, SharePoint Framework had its second anniversary from a general availability, which happened on the 23rd of February 2017. So now it's 2 years out, which is really cool, considering the fact that it's growing enormously still. I think it was 348% year-over-year growth for third party actually using SharePoint Framework. So it's phenomenal. And obviously now that Microsoft Teams tabs can be built using SharePoint Framework, that's going to further increase the adoption as well. Let's see how fast we can see actually that in the statistics as well. But really great, and it's great to see the old gang on the picture as well. And actually, I need to zoom this out. So you can actually see myself over there. So because my manager at the time, Dan Kogan, wanted me to be on the picture as well. So I got there in the surface. So that was good. Really cool. This is what I do. I work remotely, virtually. Now on other topics, so since Martina is here, we wanted to talk about something new which came out actually yesterday or today, apparently based on a days. Today morning, Tony, who's working in atwork as well, wrote a story around the first steps of Microsoft Vision APIs. I think he's planning to do multiple articles. That's my understanding as well. Now, obviously, the Azure. This is around getting started with Microsoft Vision APIs and analyzing what the picture actually contains and all of that, which directly isn't part of the Microsoft 365 or SharePoint, but this is a good service which we could take into a use and analyzing on the assets what we have in SharePoint, because as an example, doing automatic tagging, which though is there out of the box or coming out of the box pretty soon, but you could do other things with the Vision API as well. But it's a nice kind of an introduction on the model, and here's some tags which was able to identify that it's motorcycle, outdoor, parked, motorbike. That's actually pretty cool. Parked, that is actually pretty cool. Sitting, standing, field, flag, side, man, people. Coming back on the picture, let's get back in here. There is a person there. Yeah,
there's a person.
Actually,
yeah,
that is actually pretty cool.
It is. It's really pretty cool, and I think that intelligence will come more and more into the services, and it will be extremely helpful for us in the future to have that.
Yeah. I think it's already, and Martina can probably are more up to date on this one than I am. If I upload an image to SharePoint Online, is it already tagging that automatically with metadata?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
Yes. So, for instance, you can use it for invoices. So you make a picture of your invoice and upload it, and then you get it scanned and can search through that, which is also extremely helpful.
Yeah.
But there are also other use cases. A customer of ours, he said, okay, I want my engineers to have a support channel. So the customer makes a picture of the product and then uploads it, and we see all the help and support articles for that specific product. This could be extremely helpful to build solutions around that.
Yep. Analyzing what the picture is all about and then matching that to the available knowledge-based articles and data.
Exactly. And you can do it on the mobile device as well. So you just upload it and then you get all the help articles directly onto your phone while you are at the customer side.
And as we add the more and more intelligence on these things, we kind of remove the burden of even requiring metadata, even on documents or in whatever you're uploading, presentations or whatever, because of course the system should analyze that automatically and then do the tagging of the metadata automatically.
Exactly.
I think it's been the promise of the future for quite a long time. So, and technically you can already do that by yourself. Or you've been able to make this happen.
Of course you can do it by yourself.
You can always code yourself around it.
You upload the image and you can just tag like what's in there.
No. But using the Azure Cognitive Services already for a few years, it's been out for a few years already. You've been able to implement a customization on top of SharePoint as an example.
So is this available only in English, or can you also plug into that other locales? Languages?
Good question, actually.
Good question. I don't know. I really don't know.
Let's not start that multilingual discussion right now.
Yeah, it just popped out. Like, yeah, sorry.
Yes. I would have some suggestions for Microsoft. No.
No. Yeah, to start implementing that in Finnish, and then we've never heard from them again, ever.
Yeah, true. Okay, moving on articles. So this one was an interesting discussion from this man called Waldek, but this is really good discussion point in the, let's say, inconsistencies related on SharePoint. And when you talk about SharePoint sites, how do you refer to them? Are they sites and a website and a subsite, site collection and a site, or something else? And I think we had a good discussion already on this one, that normal end user wouldn't even know what is a site collection.
Exactly.
They have no clue. So
I'm not sure how they're communicated in the UI in SharePoint.
So what I see a lot with users is that they say it's my team or my team site, which is now more interesting when we talk about Microsoft Teams as well. So
true.
But I very
can't
often
answer that.
You're anonymous.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Sorry, Martina, you were about to say. Sorry.
Yeah, I think most users say, okay, this is my SharePoint or my SharePoint website.
Yes, I heard.
Or it's my team site.
Yeah.
And in the future, all of that is in one centralized Office 365 group. Or we can actually get really close already today with that. But to be fair, calling that as a group might be confusing as well, because even though it's either my team or the site behind the team, or what is it?
Yeah.
That is an interesting thing. What should we call that one atomic thing? Because Office 365 group, it's like, no, that doesn't. We used to call it as a unified group at some point, but then Microsoft changed the terminology. Let's see if there will be again marketing changes, marketing organization changes. So if they will flip the terminology.
But I guess, but I guess so. The problem with that is that there are different audiences, and I think there was somebody who mentioned that like not all of them care about the differences as such, right? So for example, a user, to them it's opaque whether that's a site or site collection or whatever it's called, a group. Then there is the admin, to whom there is a importance of distinction, because some operations need to be done at the level of a group or site collection or a site. So they need to make distinction. And then there are devs who talk API. So to them, it's like SP web, SP site, or AAD directory object. Right? And then I don't have the illusion that there's a way to cut through all of them and just give them one term and everybody will be like, I understand that. But even to devs or admins, like, do you call them webs or sites or subwebs or subsites? Like, what is the one term that makes sense to everybody, or let's say everybody on the tech side?
Sure. Well, and then there's the developers. Obviously, I think about this one as a site and a web, because in an SP site and SP web from an API perspective. So if you're an old school farm solution developer, so it's site and a web.
But in CSOM, even CSOM today still has the site and the web.
Correct. Because that comes from the server-side API historical.
SP was dropped, and then
Correct. It's almost the same as this classical terms and really historical things. That BCS, Business Connectivity Services. What is the namespace of those APIs in the SharePoint server?
What was it? Jeez, that's a good one.
It's application registry.
Okay, I didn't know that. I thought it was something else, because didn't it have a different name at first?
Yeah. So first of all, in server side, in APIs, it was application registry. Then it was BDC, Business Data
BDC,
Connectivity.
yes.
And when it was released as part of 2010, I think, if I remember correctly, and then we renamed that as part of the 2010 timeframe still to BCS. Which is Business Connectivity Services. But the underlying server-side APIs, obviously, won't be changed, because changing renaming namespaces that can be really problematic. So it's still application registry from a namespace perspective. But it's the classical story of what do we call these things? And how can we be consistent? Or add-ins and apps. CJ, and the impact of the marketing people may like, okay, add-ins makes more sense, maybe, but then the UI is still saying app. So what is it? Why?
Appends.
Appends. And it always changes. Whenever there's an organizational change somewhere, somebody new person comes and says, "Why aren't we calling this whatever?" So,
and everybody's like, "Okay, let's do it."
Or site designs. It was called internally site recipes, and it was disclosed that it would have been called site templates. But if we would have called it site templates, it would have had such a long.
But then there would be modern templates, and modern templates are good, and the classic templates are not.
Correct, indeed. And that's an interesting discussion. When is the modern still modern?
Exactly, and when is it legacy?
Correct.
When the new modern arrives, right?
and we don't have anything in between. It's either modern or legacy. So.
Yes.
Well, you just wait a year. There will be thing in between.
Yeah. Do you think so? And how is it called then? So we have legacy and modern.
Clippy
pages.
Oh,
Or we can call them future SharePoint sites.
The new modern.
Okay. So this article is from Simon around the site designs, not site recipes, about site designs. And this is really around the fact that how can you use REST to create a modern site and apply a site design as part of that call as well. So there is one API behind of the scenes which you can call, and then you can bypass actually the needed. Let's get site designs, and somewhere in here, if you scroll down, if I remember correctly, there it is. You're able to basically then set the site design to be applied on newly created site as well as part of the payload. Now, to be fair, we are this close, and it's high priority thing in my post-it notes to update the documentation around creation of the modern sites, because the group site manager isn't actually the latest and best possible API to do that. But I need to document that before we can show that in practice.
So when you do that, I just stumbled upon a bug with regards to owners.
That's going to be fixed. We are also the new API will support also app only, at least for communication sites. So it's just now a matter of getting it documented. So,
woohoo!
Well,
okay, but it's not.
We still need to document that.
So it's not this API, because this is the API used in the UI. Okay.
Yeah. This is the old API which is used in the UI for now. There will be a more standardized API which you can use for communication sites or for group site as well. So, but this works so well. So it is used by the API. In this case, Simon actually has done a reverse engineering of analyzing what the API is, the UI is hitting, and then explaining how these things work. Now, it is always, though, a slightly risky thing to use reverse engineering to figure this out, because if we don't document the stuff, we can't guarantee that it will be remaining as it is here.
Also, actually, the create group X, that is documented. That is in our docs.
But this one isn't, as an example. So,
correct.
Is there the Microsoft Information Protection stuff in there already as well, to ask a question?
Nope. No, if you think about, you mean in the policy question?
Exactly.
The labels, yeah.
Oh, the label is supported by the API. Yes. So you can actually define that in the API. I don't think Simon is actually showing how to make that happen in here, because you need to explicitly enable the labeling in the site creation before that UI will be exposed, and then that sets additional things. Now, it will actually be done in this API. It's actually the classification. So you can.
But it's already in there, which is good.
Yeah. Yes.
But this is the old API. So the question is does the new API have that too?
It should have that, and if it doesn't, then we need to fix that.
Then it doesn't.
That's moving on things. So, so the right way of pronouncing was.
I'm throwing you here under a bus. I'm not saying anything.
Waldek, help me.
Schwau.
Shuao. Thank you, Shuao. I'm horrible on this.
Practice.
Anyway, Shuao had an article 2 weeks ago, which was around how do you use Google Analytics in SharePoint Online. And to get the usage information. And then in the SharePoint Dev Weekly for that week, we told that, well, is it a good idea to move your data to the Google Analytics? So he then came up with a story on how to do this, exactly the same thing using application insight. So the data would be then inside of the Microsoft Cloud, which will then mean that it's a data boundary basically, and that you don't get your URLs and data information leaked to the Google Analytics. Now, up to you, do you want to use that? But it's good to understand that customization can kind of leak the data to other areas as well, which is an important, let's say, reminder on knowing what you deploy to your farm, right?
Yes. Yes.
And Martina, you had what was the term related on? We had a discussion before we started recording on this one. Data. Well, it's all around the fact that is the data leaking out of the Microsoft Cloud, right?
Exactly. And also from a security and compliance perspective, you always have to think whom are you heading over insight into your data?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And probably you don't like that Google Analytics is indexing it, even if it's a machine learning process, but it could be a compliance issue there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Whatever you're using, make sure that you understand the terms of usage and the licensing in them, and then you choose, do you use it or not? So good. Moving on things. I'm watching the time as well. Which David had a nice, more IT pro-oriented thing, extract information of communication sites to Excel. A nice PowerShell script, which is basically then exporting data around the communication sites and filtering the sites in the SharePoint Online based on the site template URL or the type. So basically, that's the communication site web template. So then you can get the information around that now.
Mm-hmm.
Nice IT pro-oriented blog post. Here, Fabric UI React grouped list inside pivot table. Thomas Berman. So basically, how to use Fabric UI React grouped list control. Nice, quite long actually. It's the one step at a time article explaining how to get started and how to do that. But let's scroll in here. We can see that we're kind of presenting the data in multiple pivots. So you're able to say in New York or Los Angeles, and then the organizational filtering inside of that as well. So quite nice. And I think there was so there's a full solution available in GitHub as well. Really cool. Typical issues with regional settings from multilingual company in Office 365.
Don't open this can of worms. Don't.
Yeah, we talked about this one before we started recording.
So actually, the funny thing is that the reading time says 5 minutes. Discussion time, we can talk about this for hours, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. And the most painful thing here is if you open up a tenant, it gets in the language you are currently location. If you do not switch into a private mode and open the tenant in English. And this is always a little tricky for users because they get OneDrive in a different language or stuff like that. And this could really be very interesting with customers on the long run.
Yeah, which out of a quick conclusion out of that, you should always open up your tenants using then English if you're international company, or if that's your company's official language. Now, the company's official language could be Germany, and then you can make that decision. But that has impact for the end users, at least for now. So there are areas which are basically following the root language, not just the end user language, right?
Yeah, and also when you open up a tenant, you must be sure which tenant location you choose, because you can't move from one location to another. Yes. So if you open up an US-based tenant, your users are in the US and not in Europe, for instance.
Yeah, I can imagine that we're looking into transforming those things at some point, because I know that there are multiple customers who've been requesting these capabilities, but one step at a time. So it is what it is. And it's good to know these are really good articles because they're pointing out the problem. So you customers will know beforehand that, okay, I will need to consider these things. And so even though, sure, there is a bug, or behavioral issues inside of the Office 365, which Microsoft has to fix sooner or later. But it's good to know how it works right now. Now, moving on things. So this one was from Paolo Pialorsi, Piasus Tech Bytes. He's in episode 44 already. So he's releasing a lot of stuff. So creating teams with Microsoft Graph. The one thing what was interesting here in this video, so obviously the video is around Paolo explaining what the things are. But what was also interesting here is that he's using actually PowerShell, then the PnP PowerShell to do that. And this is actually kind of an interesting demo on using Graph with the PowerShell and well, PnP PowerShell. So basically getting the access token, looking in, signing in using the needed scopes, and then getting an access token on that. And then after that, using then HTTP commands on invoking and creating stuff. So
actually, the interesting thing about this is that the other day I had a look into the command lists that are available for Flow and Power Apps. And I was surprised by the way that they are built, right? Because typically, like for example, if you look at the PnP PowerShell, it's an assembly, right? Yep. So we've built all of that in C#, but their commandlets are basically a module. So their commandlets are built in PowerShell, and the only DLL that they use is, if I'm not mistaken, for auth for ADAL, yep. But everything else is just PowerShell code written in PowerShell.
Yeah.
Right. So in theory, there might be a more portable and also easier to, I don't know, adjust or do whatever, because it's not an assembly for which the source code is elsewhere, but it's just a module that you can then more easily work with, look into, and so forth and so on. And maybe even, I don't know to what extent that has constraints to having it portable between Core and PowerShell 5.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Yeah. Anyway, I'm conscious about the time. I'm just really aware of the time again. So moving on articles, AC leverage custom permissions in Azure AD applications. So there is a nice documentation written by actually Waldek around how to use, how to secure your Azure web APIs and Azure functions and then call them securely from SharePoint framework. AC had an article around that one as well. And then this one is around how to use custom permissions. So if your custom API, as an example, in this case, 1 second, my Zoom is doing something weird. Where's my mouse? There we go. Whoa, there we go. So in this case, the application actually supports different kind of permissions, so custom permissions. How would you then grant these against your, how would you manage these permissions for SharePoint framework to be used? So really nice article explaining that. From Elio, how to let warnings not fail, SharePoint framework build process, which is slightly awkward. So because the warning shouldn't fail, right? But there are certain things which we should actually improve in the build pipeline or the SPFX.
Debatable whether, I think it in the end is whether you want it or not.
Sure.
Because there is a reason why it is the way it is, right? And then you can say yes, but it does not apply to me. And that point, you basically override the thinking.
Correct.
And you say like
behavior. Yes, that is true. And that's what Elio is explaining here. So how to override should warning fail build value, and how would you continue then moving forward on building stuff. Now, this one from Stefan Bauer, use npm version to upgrade version of your SPFX solution, really around the fact that there are so many assets which have their own versions, and how would you then manage the versioning. And I think, Stefan, we talked about this one before the call, the point being on the fact that it probably makes sense to keep the version numbers consistently across the solution and manifests and components and all of that. So yeah, he is showing how to make those things happen as well.
Yes.
And then this one from Shayo. I can't do this. Shao. I need to actually record. I seriously need to record that.
Every single play time. It every single time. Like play.
Exactly. SPFX3 organization chart web part. So this is a nice web part showing how the company organization can be exposed as a organizational chart, and I think it actually supports expanding and not expanding. So I think it's using a whatever third-party component for drawing that, but it's really, really nice. Obviously, if you are in a company size like Microsoft, 120,000 employees, it's not really probably the right way of exposing the structure, but for a simple presentation, yeah, makes perfect sense. Absolutely.
I don't know. Maybe it has. I don't know if it. You probably could do it in a way that it's an ASIC thing where it only loads the node that you actually expand.
Sure.
So it doesn't load everybody.
Yeah. That's true. I haven't checked the code, and he's sharing that in the official SPFX web parts pretty soon as well. So really cool. Really cool. Good. Stopping the screen share. Any last words for this week? Waldek, you had a sessions coming up. Martina is flying pretty soon to London. Any thoughts? It's Monday.
You should give some water to your plant. It doesn't look that good.
Which one? This one?
Yes.
That is true. Yeah, I need to buy a new one. So I don't know what every single winter it happens. So it's just a false
Give water. Give water.
It's not done. It's not done.
And maybe give love to it.
Yeah,
they're alive. Speak to her.
Yeah.
You're a nice plant. You're very nice.
Exactly.
That is fair. Martina's green thing on the back seems much healthier, and there's even flowers. Are those real, or is it fake?
Yes.
No.
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 Real flowers, yeah.
Okay, so it is spring then already in Austria. So because I can see snow, and there's snow still in here. So.
Yeah, it's pretty nice here. We got 15 degrees today.
Wow.
Yeah, the same here.
Yeah, thanks to global warming, we get nice weather in February.
Yeah.
But
however, not in Finland, right?
Well, no, not yet. It is pretty sunny though, so it's quite nice, but that's about it. But I think that's it for this then. So SharePoint Framework 1.8 coming up soon. And we promise soon. Provisioning service soon. Waldek, you were doing you were doing the last release of CLI is coming end of this month, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, because we ship every month new release. So.
Latest release.
Yes. So we had a beta, and then we will have new version by the end of the month. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is
by the end of
Thursday.
February. Yeah.
Yes. Every month we ship a version of CLI.
Okay,
so by
nice.
Thursday.
Oh right, then. Now that you mention it, yes.
Soon on Thursday.
Yes,
exactly.
Soon on Thursday.
Exactly. Okay, but thank you, Martina, for joining us, and thank you for the great discussion on the thinking and different terminology. Multilingual. Let's not start that discussion now. I think. Well, I know, and a lot of people in Microsoft know that we need to make improvements there, and in the modern experiences as well. I think the multilingual is in the list of all modern pages. When is it coming out? We'll see. We will have a spring event again on SharePoint Conference, which is coming up on May. Hopefully, we can show something over there. No promises at this point, especially since I've been away for 1 week. So I have no idea what has happened. But thank you, Martina, for joining. Thank you, Waldek, and we'll come up with a new SPDev Weekly in a week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.